Greetings, queens and kings. If you're stopping by, welcome back to my channel. Family, oh, we are rounding up for the finale. And yikes, episode 21 was a doozy. Preston, you went back home and got married that fast? Are you serious? And look like Danny was hurt by that pic. Let's get into it. Now, where we left off last week, we have Gary here. He told Hayden that, his girl is a scam. She's a trick. She's a hoe. She has been planted by Fatima to basically railroad him. So now he's upset. But of course, he doesn't want to believe Gary because he knows Gary's little situation with Andy is a little messed up. And, the woman Penelope and the baby on the way. So like we said before, misery loves company, right? So he loves shoving this in Hayden's face. But Hayden's not hearing it. But if it is, he wants to bring the wrath down on Fatima. He was like, I have no reason to lie. You see what my PI found out. So now it's time for Hayden to go inside and address this. So he confronts Tamera about the situation that Gary's PI found out about him. She's like, you gonna believe him? He doesn't like me. He doesn't want us to be happy. I can't believe you falling for this. So Hayden thought he could scare her, about this prenup, that he's done with her. And if what Gary's saying is not true, you're going to sign it. And she was like, it's not. He's lying. So she's going with that whole story. After a while, I guess she felt her back was against the wall. And he said, you are going to do this. Don't play with me. And she went off like, you little runt. Whatever she called him, she went off on his behind. And he looked at her like, oh, you was behind this. Fatima? She was like, Fatima who? Like Fatima, oh, you mean the woman at your job? Yeah, I heard you talking to her. I don't know her like that. And he's like, yeah, okay. So after she went off on him and insulted him, then she's like, go ahead, do what you want because I'm not going nowhere. I'm taking you for basically all you got. I can get half your shit. And that's that. And so you better go to work and make my money. So he's looking at her like, heaven no, you not. So I'm like, oh, Tamera. Oh, she got some balls on her. She is not playing with Hayden. So he gets the paper and sign it. She's like, I'm not signing nothing. And he's like, oh, I'm a lawyer, right? Like, you stupid. She was like, I know lawyers that would do anything for me. You got to understand the work that she do. And it is men that will probably bow down to her feet and do whatever she asks. So she said, I know what I could get and I can talk to them and handle it. And let's think about it. She, went to Hayden, same way she probably know other men that's lawyers, just like she met Hayden. So she can get the information from them just like she got from him on certain things when she was pretending like she was married and her husband and all this stuff when her and Fatima first started this scam. But she was like, you go ahead and do what you got to do. But I'm not going nowhere. So go out there, you little biatch, basically, and make my money. Hayden looking like, no, she didn't. So I don't know if the jig is up with Tamera. I don't know if it's over or how girl gonna play this, but she is not done with him. And she is gonna ride this out till the cows come home. Hayden, you got something on your hands now with trying to deal with Tamera. Because it seems like it's going to be a lot more work to get her out. I mean, it hasn't been 6 months, so he should be able to do an annulment for scamming or, just not being a total fraud. So come on, you a lawyer, Hayden. Work this out. Now Sabrina is going to her boss to find out about her job, and she finds out that she won't be a manager anymore. She'll be an assistant manager, and she'll be working downtown. Now, this is where it teased me off. And please put in the comments what you think. Like, why does Sabrina always treat Maurice like he's her personal, charity case? Like, she always understand that's your friend. But the reason why you was almost facing 15 years is because your friend was dealing with the criminal who robbed a bank. Twice he let this man stay in his house, but she's always taking up for Maurice. Still trying to get him to get her job. Be grateful you have your job, Sabrina. You have your job. You lucky, it's not on record that he can't work in banking, period, Maurice, because when it comes to like government jobs, banking jobs, your life is not basically to do whatever you want. There's a different kind of ethics code. There's a lot of things that's a little more scrutinized than maybe other regular jobs. So you can't play when it comes to a bank robbery. And there was an arrest. No, you weren't found guilty in that. However, you are the cause. So no, he shouldn't get his job back. And I could understand that. So I don't know why Sabrina thinks she need to fight tooth and nail, because even though that was his personal business, it was a big cause and a big criminal activity that went down because of Maurice and his dealings with Q. And that's like people that work for the feds or a lot of other, high level government jobs. They go into your personal business to see how you living before they hire you. So same thing when it comes into banking and jobs like that. So no, Sabrina, be grateful. You got a job, even though it's in a different branch. And Maurice has to man up, face, have some accountability for his actions and move on and get him another job, period. Now you have Zach and Fatima at the office. They want to find out what happened with the court case, with the emergent hearing, and they're a little nervous on that. So they're waiting. Fatima trying to tell him, to calm down and chill. We'll find out in a minute. And they found out that it didn't work too good. There wasn't really much evidence that the judge wanted to hear. But I work in this area personally, so I understand how this is handled, especially with Child Protective Services. Once they get wind of a certain case, then it has to go to court, and then there has to be investigations, and the child has to get a law guardian assigned to them by the court. And there's constant reviews that go on periodically throughout the year before they just blatantly dismiss it. So it is going to take some time. And, this is not something that happens overnight. You just found out about this child and you just came into his life, and it's not going to be instant that things go your way, Zach. So this is how the system works. Unfortunately, a lot of children get in bad situations because they have to weigh this out in the system. And a lot of times the system really doesn't work out in our best interest. But then sometimes it does. But it's all about the child, and it's a process. So, Zach is a little fed up right now. He's a little frustrated. But Fatima's trying to get him to calm down. And in walks Hayden, really ready to bring the wrath because he knows what happens. And of course, Fatima playing it off like she don't know what's going on. Zach is like, I don't know what you're saying, because Zach wasn't involved with this. And she's really pissed off. And Hayden, this is the wrong person to really deal with, because Fatima ain't one to mess with. Now, here you got Andy, and Andy is trying to get him off her back. She doesn't know what's going on. Now, Hayden kind of thinking, oh, you know what's going on with me too. That's why you taking up for your friend. And no, she had nothing to do with that, Hayden, but she does know. Now, we see that he ain't learned his lesson from the situation that Madam handled before. So he is looking to concoct something against Fatima. I like to know how that happens. Now, Fatima's telling Andy, well, he knows now. She's like, what? Yeah, well, I guess he found out. And so Andy's like, oh, my God, we don't need this drama in the office. We got to keep it professional. Now, here we go with Jordan. He's showing up to take Andy out to lunch. She's a little nervous, like, oh, I didn't even know it was lunch already. Yeah, well, look at your watch. It is. So our girl, looking fly in that yellow, I must say, is off to lunch with Jordan. Now we have Karen, thank God she made it safely with old boy, to the spot where he wants her to purchase this building. Now, it's probably nice. It's probably roomy. They're working on getting things done. And one thing this guy always wants to say is that, you can handle it, Karen. You can handle it. It's the same amount that you're paying now. But let's get this clear. First of all, what she does now is renting. She doesn't have a lot of responsibility as much as ownership. To own this, even though it's the same price, it's still going to cost her more in the long run, because there's maintenance things she has to deal with as a property owner. So it's not going to be that simple, and it's not just going to be that cut and dry. So, he's explaining to her everything, and, he's trying to soften her up a bit again, like, oh, you remind me of my mother. She was like, how? She was getting a little insulted, but he said, no, she's just hardworking, independent, and the good side of his mother. She was like, yeah, well, I'd like to meet her one day. Like, girl, come on. This is a married man that supposedly has 9 children. We know nothing about him, so you don't need to meet his mama. Like, get real, Karen. So then he starts to talk about, the baby in her life, getting her personal business. And she's like, oh, the father's in his life. And I'm like, yeah, make that be clear. And then he's like, oh, but did you notice his expression when she said that? Like, okay, that's not going to work. And then she made some little sly comment about he's not always good, because he said something about a good guy. And she's like, not always good. So I'm like, Karen, don't tell too much to this stranger. Then he starts talking about a realtor. And she says, I know someone that can, get me a realtor. So, Zach is checking in with Fatima on the home front, and, they just touching base like they always do. They so cute. And then he says, oh my God, Karen's calling. I don't want to answer. And she's like, go ahead and answer. So Karen asks her about, a realtor. And of course, he points her in the direction of Val and said, I'll send you that information. So she said, okay, thank you very much. So he shares that with Fatima. Oh, Karen's looking for a realtor. She's like, oh, she's looking to buy a house. He was like, I don't know. I didn't ask all that. Like, I ain't getting to all of that, all her business. I'm just pointing her in the direction of the realtor. We ain't even getting that personal. So she was like, okay. He was like, but surprisingly, she was nice. And Fatima was like, yeah, I told you. See, like, she's on the up and up. So hopefully Karen will stay that way, and they'll continue having a nice co-parenting relationship. So now we have, excuse me, Maurice at the house, I guess figuring out what's going on, and Sabrina coming to see him to let him know, she got the job back and she'll be working at a different branch. She's not a manager, but she'll be the assistant manager downtown. So he was like, oh, that's nice. I like that branch. And she said, yeah. And then she said, but, because he was talking about, well, I got to get me some new clothes to wear and all that. And she's like, on another note, they not hiring you back. So, of course, he's upset. Like, what? No, they can't do that to me. And she was like, well, yeah, they are. And well, that's my personal business, what I did. And I'm like I said before, it's not your personal business. This was a very serious situation that was very criminal that you were in jail for based on your, relationship with Q. So in Maurice fashion, he's pissed off, acting like they can't do that to him and XYZ. And I'm like, calm down, Maurice. Like, this is serious. Like, for once, can you realize the situation you were in? Be accountable and just get a new job. Oh, I don't want a new job. I want that job. Well, you can't have that job. Like, common sense, you cannot have it. So stop being annoying. Be grateful. You don't have a record. Hopefully this is not noted, because yes, he found out that they was talking about you on the job, about your unprofessionalism. Like, we've seen this entire time Sistas was out. You never handled yourself professional at that bank. And I'm surprised you kept your job way before this situation with Q. So, it is what it is. And, Sabrina basically told him in a nutshell, get it together. Just, move on and get a new job. Now, Jordan and Andy are out to lunch. And, of course, she wanted to go somewhere close. So she just picked a place downstairs. She don't want to go too far. She has to work. And they went to this little diner. And he's like, I thought you would, I'd rather take you to a nice place with tablecloths and all that. But, Andy from the hood, she may not want to go back to the hood, but she came from humble beginnings. And she said, I carry hot sauce in my purse, even though we can't really see that with Andy, as bougie as she is, right? But she like, yeah, but because she's a down-home girl at the end of the day. And even though she moved up in life, she on a regular. So she said, yeah, I like the white tablecloths, but sometimes I keep it hood, So he was like, I get it. That's what I like about you. Now, oh boy, of course, he got to throw in his sister, how she wants to talk to him, and she wants to find out, I guess, pinpoint certain dates on their relationship with Gary, just to try to figure things out and sort this out in her mind. And I can understand that, because there's a lot of things, a lot of unanswered questions, and a little bit more than she got when they had their whole big blowout. So I can get that. But every time I meet you, Jordan, please don't keep bringing up your sister and forcing me to want to get with her. So they had their little, niceties, and they got ready to leave. Now, in the meantime, we have our girl Danny back at the airport. Of course, she's still hurting, a little shook up about the situation with Preston leaving, but old boy is always there because, of course, he's always following her and watching her every move, which is a little shady to me. And so I don't like the fact that, in conversation, Danny brought up the fact that she's no longer with Preston. I mean, I don't think he needs to know that right away. But of course, he was happy to hear that because now he feels that they can go on an actual real date because I don't have to worry about your man now. And then Danny, like, why is she asking this, man about his money, his salary? Don't you make good money and all this? It's none of your business, Danny. You sound like a gold digger, so I don't even know why. I would raise a red flag if I was him. You all up in my bank account. But he said, don't worry about anything. He was talking to her about, I'll always look out if you need another job, like if you lost your job here, because she was a little concerned about the airport. And yeah, we know this airport don't never hardly have anybody, so yeah, I would be concerned too. But he claims that he'll have her back. So they supposed to be having dinner and meeting up later. So in the meantime, she gets a call from Sabrina talking about, what happened with Maurice and how, she got her job and everything. And Danny thought that was nice, but she said Maurice can't get her job. And she's like, well, okay. Danny, she knows it's his fault anyway, so he'll find another job. And she was like, yeah. And then I guess, she just wanted to know how things was going with her and how she felt with the situation with Preston. Well, lo and behold, she gets a text from Preston with a picture. I don't know if it's standing at the altar. I don't know why he felt the need to show her this, but Danny's face showed how hurt she was. Yeah, Preston is married. I'm like, really? Like already? He got on this plane that fast, snatched this woman Mindy up and married her? Wow. So Andy gets back at the office, and of course Penelope's there because her brother done told her where she worked at. Shocker, no. So Andy was a little teed off, and she's like begging her, like, please, Andy, I need to talk to you. There's things, I guess she wants to straighten out when it comes to, the timeline with her and him and her and Gary. So she said, yeah, okay, I get it. We can have a conversation. We can talk. I get it. And she agrees to meet. Well, lo and behold, who comes? Gary. Like, is that a coincidence that Gary shows up at the same time Penelope is there? Well, he was meeting with Hayden, so I guess so. It just a little peculiar, but yeah, what are y'all talking about? None of your business, Gary. None of your business. So we are going to jump into the finale to see what goes down with Gary and this whole conversation, how he interrupts, what's going down with that, and is Preston really married? Yikes. So let's get into the finale. Peace.